Now, folks, it is my great pleasure to introduce, for the first time on the Irish side of the moon, Dr. Patrick Flanagan. Now, Dr. Flanagan, at age 11, developed and sold a guided missile detector to the U.S. military. At age 17, gained his air pilot's license, was employed by a think tank at the Pentagon, and later as a consultant to the NSA, CIA, NASA, Tufts University, the Office of Naval Research, and the Aberdeen Proving Grounds for the Department of Unconventional Weapons and Warfare. Dr. Flanagan invented the neurophone, and it is an electronic nervous system excitation device that transmits sound through the skin directly to the brain. A prolific inventor, he is credited with over 300 inventions and was named 1997 Scientist of the Year by the International Association for New Science. Dr. Flanagan holds advanced degrees in nanotechnology, chemistry, biosciences, and medicine. And here he is on the Irish side of the moon. Dr. Flanagan, thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
I forgot that you taught yourself gymnastics also and went on to tournament level, amongst other stuff.
Yes.
It's been said that you were a child prodigy. What was that like?
Well, it's very uncomfortable because you don't get along with all the other children because they can't understand you, and so you end up being somewhat of a hermit.
Okay, so as a kid, it wasn't the greatest gift to have until sometime that you learned, okay, I need to get on with this. What happened?
Well, all my friends were scientists. That is, as a child, my friends were in their 60s and 70s and 80s, and they were all scientists. So those were the only people that I was comfortable being with. And but because of my work at the Pentagon, I met some very interesting scientists. Dr. Henri Coanda, who invented and flew the world's first jet airplane in 1910 outside of Paris, and is really well known. If you Google Henry Coanda, you'll find out all about him.
Go ahead.
Well, he told me about his research on water and the fountain of youth, and that water is not simply H2O, but that certain kinds of water have profound effects on the living system. And he started my lifelong search when I was 17 on the properties of water and on searching for the perfect water for all living things.
Okay, before we get into your meeting with Dr. Coanda and your I suppose you could call it a meteoric rise, exponential learning. When I was doing the research, I became very interested in what motivated you as a child. What was it like for you, young Patrick, as a child growing up, knowing that there was something very different about you in comparison to your peers?
Sure. I had a photographic memory and an incredible thirst for knowledge, and because of that, by the time I was 14, I could read almost 15,000 words per minute with 95% comprehension. And so my childhood was spent reading literally thousands and thousands of books, and also I had this ability to create, that is to think thoughts that no one else could think, and as a result, many of my inventions have never been seen before. They're what you call basic, original ideas and discoveries.
Okay, and in that time when you were assimilating all that knowledge, and I would love to do that, but hey, I don't have a photographic memory. I could read a pamphlet and I can't remember 2 words. Did you come across when you were young any of the works of Tesla?
Oh yes, Tesla had a very important effect on my life. I was building Tesla coils when I was 8 years old, and read everything that Tesla ever put out, every patent he had, everything he wrote, everything that all of his lectures to the British scientific societies and so forth. I read everything that I could on him.
And you could actually understand, owing
Yes.
to your innate genius. Wow. So then skipping forward slightly, missing from 8 to 17, missing all those years, you came across your next big, I suppose, springboard. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Yeah.
Sure. Well, I read a science fiction book written in 1911 by a gentleman by the name of Hugo Gernsback, who became a world-renowned publisher. Gernsback Publications was a scientific publication company. And Hugo Gernsback wrote this book in which the hero, remember this is 1911, the hero had a device that he could, 2 electrodes he would put on his head, and it would transmit knowledge into his brain while he slept. And because I had such an enormous thirst for knowledge, I immediately recognized that that's what I wanted and needed, and so I invented that device, and it became known as the neurophone. And it's kind of like a radio transmitter with ultrasonic frequencies that has 2 electrodes that I would attach to my head, and anything that was played through those electrodes from a tape or a radio or whatever would go directly into the long-term memory of the brain, and as a result, I could actually learn things while I was sleeping. And so it was such an astonishing invention that when I applied for a patent on it, the U.S. government put it under secrecy as a possible military weapon. And I fought them for years and years and years in order to be able to use my device. And it also has the potential of enabling profoundly deaf people to hear.
Yeah, that's what I got. I was like, there was a couple of things when I was reading over the neurophone. I thought direct application for deaf people to allow them to hear without the auditory canal. But I was also thinking, yeah, the military, if I'm a military man and some kid develops this, I'm going to grab that.
Yes, well, they tried, as they grabbed my my atomic bomb guided missile detector when I was 11, so I was already on their radar.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my life has been spent, as you mentioned earlier, working with various government agencies, but also cooperating with them so that they would allow me to do the research I wanted to do in my own areas.
Right. So when you met Dr. Kawanda, what happened from there?
Well, Dr. Kawanda was about 80 years old, and he's the father of fluid dynamics, and he had developed a torpedo that would travel underwater at about 100 miles an hour without producing a wake, because it basically created a vacuum in front of the torpedo, and the water actually sucked the torpedo through the water, and so this didn't create a bow wave in front of the torpedo, which was detectable. And so one day Dr. Kawanda invited me into his office, and he told me about his lifelong research on the properties of water. And so he gave me his research and said that there is a special water that has certain characteristics that, when taken into the human body, produced profound health benefits and also could lengthen the lifespan. And that was the beginning of my lifelong research on water, which is continuing to this day.
And what age were you?